Welcome to HopePod. We're really excited to have you with us. HopePod is a bit of a chat where we are talking about the future of church in this changing environment. My name's Jim. Claire, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Claire. I'm a pioneer minister in South Lancaster.
And we have Damian as well.
Hi, I'm Damian, the vicar at Christ Church Thornton.
Fab. So this is HopePod. This has been inspired by the Diocesan Unlock vision, where they've been looking at Lament, Thanksgiving and Mission. I remembered all three. And as we go through these series of episodes, we're hoping just to have a bit of a conversation with different guests that are going to join us each week, so that we can kind of chat about where church is, what's changed, what's exciting going forwards. And yeah, we've got a series of different guests join us each week as well. You can join the conversation with us as well, so you can email us at hopepodlancs@gmail.com, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can absolutely just join in the comments below. But this week, the episode is actually called Foot and Mouse. Very cleverly named by Damian, well done, because we're actually talking about how do we welcome people both online and in person. So whether you're on foot or you're a mouse, was that the thinking?
Yeah, on the mouse.
On the mouse.
Yeah, or using a mouse.
I was thinking if you were timid and...
It's a bit like foot and mouth, isn't it? But foot and mouse.
Got it.
Oh, yeah, a timid thing works well as well.
That works well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking at how we welcome people in church and in different groups that run, both in person but also online as well. And we're delighted to have our first guest with us, Jeanette Main. Jeanette, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm Jeanette. I'm the third age minister at St Thomas Church in Lancaster. But I think the real reason they've got me here is because I'm the leader of the Lyrics and Lunch Network, which is a network of groups who minister to people living with dementia and their carers. And I know Damian quite well because he runs one of our groups.
Fantastic. So I'm going to start off with the theme of lament for each of us, and we all have different experiences with this. And it's quite a difficult thing to talk about lament sometimes. People might shy away from it, but actually we're being encouraged to embrace those things that we've lost and kind of remember with fondness, but also it's a learning process, isn't it? So, Jeanette, what have been the things that maybe, looking back pre-COVID, what have been the things that you've lost or changed in terms of Lyrics and Lunch and your work with St T's as well? What would you say sits in that category?
I'd have to say first, we've lost a lot of people. Not many of them to COVID, but because I work with elderly people predominantly, a lot of them have come to the end of their lives, sadly, during this time. A time when we weren't able to go and say goodbye, a time when we weren't able to have proper funerals where we could all go and mourn together, and a time where things happened that we didn't necessarily find out about straight away because people weren't around and about seeing each other in the same way. And we've been really shocked as we've gathered together the names of people that we've lost over this time, just how many of them there are.
Did you find that you knew what was happening, or was there a sense of disconnection from when you've come back together? Has it been a surprise of finding out who's passed away, or did you know at the time that things were going on?
Most of them we knew what was happening. There were one or two that we didn't find out about until later on. And the hardest thing was when you knew someone was towards the end of their life and you couldn't go and do much about it. I'm not a vicar, but I do have a pastoral role, particularly with people who come to our Lyrics and Lunch groups. And to find out that someone is towards the end stages of cancer and not be able to go and see them, and not be able to support them, not be able to pray with them, particularly as we might be the only people that they're connected with as far as church goes, because they're not all church goers as such. It's been really sad.
Yeah. Damian, what have been the things as a church that you've kind of, in terms of looking back, have lost, would you say?
Exactly the same as what Jeanette said. So we've lost a number of people. I think it was actually 17 church members died last year in 2020. It's a lot of people. And as Jeanette said, they haven't really died of COVID, but died of other things that might have had a knock-on effect from COVID. So it might be not having hospital treatment quick enough or being sent home from hospital. It might be loneliness and isolation, and that's speeding up the process. And so I'm still finding now church members who I meet on a Sunday who are now hearing about someone who passed away last year. And so their grief hasn't even started until now. And so there's a lot of shock still happening as people are realising, oh, I didn't realise. And that's been really sad. And there's a sense in which the people that we saw 18 months ago, those 17 people aren't now here on a Sunday or during the week. And that's just so sad, isn't it? And as Jeanette said, we can't go to hospital. Even as a vicar, I'm not allowed to go to hospital and visit people. Even this week, I know people, church members who are in hospital, and I can't go and see them just yet. So it's a great sadness.
Mm. Yeah. There is something about togetherness, isn't there, that we've kind of lost. I think the being online and in person, much of what we've had to do has had to be online, hasn't it? And that's, what a time in that we've had to be separated, that we've got the technology to still connect in some way, but it does lack that human touch, doesn't it? That's been really hard. And I think for me, one of the things that really brings us together as church has been singing in the past and singing with other people. And it's been brilliant to be able to be, broadcasting services and gathering online. But even being in our own homes and sitting in our lounge singing along doesn't have that same sense of connection or togetherness, does it? And I think that has been something that we've lost. And certainly in my context, we've still not got that back yet. I think probably I'll have a little cry when I'm kind of first in the room with my church community and just singing together. There's something about hearing everybody's voice, isn't there, all at the same time, that is really beautiful and that has that human connection that we've talked about there, that's been lost in many different ways, hasn't it really, I suppose?
I really miss the fellowship after services and during the week, just that conversation over a cup of tea and a biscuit. Yeah. That's just so sad, isn't it, that that's not been there. And having to tell church members to actually quickly go out the building, yeah. or a midweek activity, you've got to go now. It just doesn't feel right, does it? It's not natural. So I can't wait to have people coming back during the week and on a Sunday and actually say, yeah, please stay and have a drink. That'll be so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeanette, obviously singing is a massive part for Lyrics and Lunch. I've worked with you before, and I know Damian will have seen this as well, where you work with the elderly who suffer with dementia, and you play songs that just ignite something in them, doesn't it? And they come alive, they remember all the lyrics. You hand out lyric sheets, and half the time they don't need them because they just remember it. How have you seen, or how have you kind of struggled with that at a time where you can't come together and sing, but you know that it's a really important part of their kind of week?
Working with people with dementia, it's so important to keep up that contact regularly. And we did all kinds of things during the pandemic to try and stay in touch. So we sent letters, we looked through our songs, discovered all those that didn't have copyright on them anymore, and produced a little leaflet of song words for them and delivered them out. And then we tried to do Lyrics and Lunch on Zoom, which wasn't terribly successful. I think we did it for about a term, but we found that the people who had dementia struggled quite a lot to understand how we could be talking to them directly and they could talk back to us when they were looking at a TV screen or a computer screen. And also the other big stumbling block was deafness. So people who are deaf, and a lot of them are, having a hearing aid, they don't actually pick up well what's being said over a computer, and it was unfortunate, but it didn't really work. So here at Damian's church, you've done something else, haven't you, which was far more successful. In fact, we've referred people to you to watch yours.
You're very kind. Well, we did videos on YouTube, so picking up on what you said, exactly right. The interaction is not there, is it? But we produce some videos on YouTube, and every Monday we just continue to do that about half an hour. We have a man called Banjo Bob who sings the songs to us. He's great, isn't he? Banjo Bob. Google Banjo Bob. And it's been really good for us to just have something on the internet, a presence on the internet where people, if they want to, can go on to. We're never quite sure who's watching, but it doesn't matter really. But perhaps carers of those living with dementia can put it on, and that's been really helpful.
Yeah, it's fab. But the other things we've tried to do, I've been putting little videos that we've got. Somebody else did one of those for us, and some rather less professional ones that have been done along the years onto DVD for them, with some freshly recorded stuff just at my own piano at home. So they had Lyrics and Lunch at home on a DVD. We've struggled to work out how we could get together again as soon as we could, even when singing wasn't allowed. So we diversified a little bit. I was in touch with Environmental Health in Lancaster to get permission to serve food even though cafes were not allowed to open. And they agreed with me eventually that the things we were doing to make it safe, and the fact we were dealing with people living with dementia who really needed their routine, then yes, we could go ahead and we could serve lunch. So we served lunch, but we couldn't sing. So we did chair-based exercise. This was a way of using the music they love, but giving them something else to do so that they weren't trying to sing. And that worked really nicely. So much so that myself and Jenny, who's an ordinand at St T's, have now got trained to deliver chair-based exercise so that we can do that more, not just at Lyrics and Lunch, but in other things that we do. So we're sort of set now. If it all comes back, we can do something slightly different, so we're ready for that. But we just had to think of how we could continue and what we could do. And
you're kind of moving on to our next section now is kind of when we're looking at giving thanks, what have been the things that you've gained? So I know from Lyrics and Lunch, you quite often used props and musical instruments and what are they called? The
chiffon scarves.
Yeah, scarves. Bubbles, all sorts, didn't you? You were quite diverse in the way that you would interact with people anyway. So how have you found the chair-based exercises? Has it been something that they've embraced? Is it just in person that you do that, or again, is that an online thing as well?
We've just done that in person, yes. It was when we could get together to serve lunch, but we couldn't sing. And we found a fantastic teacher for chair-based exercise who was local, and she's also drama trained. And she came with all kinds of different props. She came with dusters and things, so she had us polishing the windows and all sorts of things. And
it's like the Karate Kid.
Yeah, scrubbing brushes and you name it. And she used our chiffon scarves and we waved them around and all the rest of it. So yeah, we had a great time. She gave us lots of ideas, which were good. And we might have a little bit of that still in Lyrics and Lunch now that we can sing again. We're going back properly, as is Damian, next week to Lyrics and Lunch.
Brilliant. And will you keep some of that as well? So
yeah,
keeping some of the chair-based exercise stuff as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's always a good idea with elderly people in general, but also with people living with dementia, that you do a little bit of exercise. Part of the reason singing's so good is because it gets oxygen into their bodies. And so it's something to be built on, really.
I love that like we've just said there, that, okay, there's lots of things that we've lost, isn't there, as we've said at the beginning, but there's also so many things that we've been surprised with, like you've just described there, you know, the opportunity of, we can't do what we've always done, what can we do? And that's an amazing space, isn't it, for creativity and for new things that are like really surprising actually, but really rich. And one of the things that I love about things going online, or, you know, like the videos that you were saying about producing, Damian, and multiple church services being online now, is I think one of the surprising things has been that it's perhaps reached different people. that we would never have had come to our buildings, either because they live in a completely different part of the country, so it's impossible for them to come to our location, or people who perhaps have got mobility issues. I know a friend of mine sort of has struggled with chronic illness for quite a long time, hadn't been able to go to church. So, you know, she's loving that there was more and more things online, because we're all kind of in the same boat then, aren't we? And so more things are produced online. But also it becomes a different kind of resource, doesn't it? You know, to my mind, I kind of think, you know, if Lyrics and Lunch is on once a week, then that's something to look forward to, and you go in person, that's brilliant. But to have the videos to watch every day if you want to, what an amazing thing that is,
And
you know.
We have one of our members who's in assisted housing, and various of her carers told me that when that Lyrics and Lunch DVD came through the door, she insisted on watching it 3 times that day, and nearly every day since. And I just think they were blessing me.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like we've got children, and that's the same sort of thing, you know, that when they've got their thing that they want to watch, they do want to watch it over and over again, and that's a sign that they love it and they're really enjoying it, isn't it? And what an amazing gift that is. And you know, I think about different sermons or worship times that I've seen online as well, and to be able to go and revisit them and really kind of, you know, take richness from it, more than just kind of being in the moment and being stressed or whatever, or being able to watch when it's a kind of suitable time for you and for your family or your household. It's been a real surprising gift, I think, from this.
But haven't you found there's a little bit of a tension now between how much do we keep online, given that we actually would like people to come back into the building now?
Yeah.
This was going to be my next point. So Damian, from a church perspective, obviously you took a lot of stuff online and produced services and whatever else you produced. Now you've got people coming back into the building. How does that balance work? Do you find is it an easy thing to fix and do both, or is it a struggle to maintain one or the other? You know, how does that kind of tension sit with you guys?
Yeah, we decided that we're going to do both. So we're going to, when we have an in-person worship service, we will live stream it where possible. And it's become easier because we've become better at it. But for me, the challenge is looking at a camera and the congregation at the same time, remembering to say welcome to those at home and welcome to those in the congregation. But I think it will become second nature over time. But some things like Lyrics and Lunch, we're not going to continue our videos each week just yet, because that is just too much of a challenge for us to both set up the equipment each week, sort out the cameras, the live stream, and do it in person and welcome our guests. So there are just some things that we can't do just now. And we also have to be careful about different safeguarding things, about who can be seen on camera and things like that. So some things are easier and some things are harder. But I can think of a few people in my congregation who, before the pandemic, were housebound. They still are housebound. But because of the pandemic and live streaming, they've now watched at home on their iPad every single Sunday. So whilst we've experienced being housebound, they've been blessed by it, because now they can actually engage with church on a Sunday. So there's some really positive things that have come from it for people like that. And now every week I know they're on their iPad, and I can think of one person who every single Sunday leaves a comment on Facebook to say, wonderful service. And that blesses me, and I know it blesses her.
That's really, that to me shows us the heart of Jesus, doesn't it? That, you know, we say so often Jesus sees each of us, you know, he knows us personally, you know, the Holy Spirit is with us wherever we are, and we talk about that. But I think you're right that our own experience of being housebound has opened our eyes to see what it means to not be seen or to not be able to gather. And so that sense of putting our services online, there's something beautiful about the gospel actually, and the hope that Jesus brings that really says, no, you really are seen and known and wanted. You are part of this community of faith, and you're an important part, and you're an included part. That's something really hopeful, I think, that we can walk into.
But the challenge I've found in my more general work at St Thomas's with the elderly from the church is that these are the very people, many of whom do not have internet. And that's why I've spent a lot of hours over the last 18 months downloading the YouTube service, changing it into a format that can be put on DVD, copying the DVD and delivering it. I'm very keen that those skills that I've learnt, which I never thought I'd need, that I can then use that to still reach housebound people who don't have the internet, hopefully without taking hours and hours and hours each week doing it when it's just 2 or 3 people. So there's lots to kind of work out, but I do think it's important that we use what we've learnt in this period for the good.
And again, we're moving on a little bit to the kind of mission side, and where the message of hope and the message of Jesus is reaching people that, like you said before, maybe is reaching people that have never thought of going to church before, or it can be an intimidating thing, can't it? Stepping over the threshold of a building that you've never been into. We've just recently joined a gym, and to walk into the gym for the first time is really quite nerve-wracking, isn't it? Well, it has been for us anyway, especially after lockdown and putting on the pounds, but anyway, we'll skip over that. But in the same way, church, if it's not something that you're used to, can be quite an intimidating thing. So online can be a way of kind of testing the water almost, without being, it's that, I can't say it, anonymity.
That's the one.
That's the one. It's turning up without somebody feeling like you're going to be welcomed, or you've got to shake hands with people and have a conversation that you can try out, and then maybe when you turn up and see the same space, it's a bit more familiar. But Jeanette, what are the areas where you think missionally have opened up to you because of the experiences that you've obviously talking about, broadening lyrics and lunch to chair-based exercises, but are there other places where you think actually in your work it's given you more opportunities or more ideas of what could be in the future?
We have had, over the last few weeks, people coming through the church doors who seemed to know us, but we'd never seen them before, and that was because they joined online, and that's really interesting. And then you get the leaders, going, "Who's that? Do you know that person?" And that's been really good to know that people have joined us online. We've had messages as well from further afield, from people who've watched online, who've maybe, I can think of one case where it was the auntie of one of the church wardens, and we got a message back via the church warden, "Oh, my auntie's really appreciating this. She really loves your midweek service," which we were putting online. We called it Worship on Wednesday. And that is now becoming something slightly different. So for our older people, I'm heading up a new missional opportunity, which is going to be Thursdays at St T's, and our new midweek service, which is on Thursdays. Twice a month, on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month, we're going to have a lunch for older people. We've been wanting to start a lunch club for ages, and we're really hoping we can bring in people from the city centre who are older people, who are a bit at a loose end or a bit lonely, can come in and have lunch with us, and they may wish to come to the midweek service, and they may wish to do some chair-based exercise we're going to put on, or they may wish to come to a lyrics and lunch group we're probably going to start. So really, from everything we've done this 18 months is coming some new fresh green growth, we hope, and an opportunity to reach the lonely in our city.
That's great. Thank you ever so much for joining us, Jeanette. We are coming towards the end of our time, but I guess what we want to kind of offer to those who are watching or listening is just an opportunity to reflect and think for yourselves, what are the things that you lament over this time? What are the things that you've maybe lost or experiences that you've lost? What are the things to give thanks for? What are the things that maybe, like Jeanette said, you've learnt new skills that you never thought you'd need? Everyone should be a video editor. Let's put that out there straight away.
Still not as good as you, Jim.
What are the new skills that you've learnt? And actually, what are the things that you need to maybe hold on to and develop as a skill, so that these the vision of reaching more people could be impacted by those new skills. And what are the things and the opportunities where you can take Jesus to, and the good news of Jesus to more people. So yeah, maybe just pause, take a little minute, have a think about that. But thank you for joining us. I don't really know how to round this up.
You need to give the email address.
Oh yeah, email address. So if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to have any comments about anything we've talked about, as we said, this is not the finished product. We are not the people with the answers. We are just having the conversation. So if you want to join the conversation, please do email us at hopepodlancs@gmail.com, or comment in the YouTube videos if you're watching on YouTube. We'll be back next week with another episode. What's the next episode?
It's all about reassuring returning worshippers. How do we give them confidence that it's okay to come back to church? And we have David O'Brien from St Thomas's Blackpool joining us.
Brilliant. And keep an eye out. We've got 6 episodes. So this is the first of 6 episodes. And we've got different guests on each week as well. So thank you for joining us. And we hope you have a great week.